there we see on a camera Harikrishna and Fabiano Caruana, and two very experienced players. Harikrishna, I think yesterday it was mentioned that he's a very solid player. In 2024, he only lost one game, but yesterday he lost against Fedoseev.
16 or so, Magnus Carlsen against Radoslav Wojtaszek. This very, very famous game where he opted with the move Knight c3 against Wojtaszek's d6, and Magnus famously played d4, queen d4, queen e2, b3, bishop e2, and this really became a hit. But what we are seeing, at least in the opening phase, is that Harikrishna played knight f3, then played knight c3, and played the same d4 anyway.
Yeah, the kind of sister variation, right? The Carlsen variation, as they call it now, this d4, queen d2, b3. I mean, here the difference is that White's queen chose a different square, I guess, after it got kicked back, chose to retreat to the e3 square. So I'm pretty sure there's some nuances. Maybe after the queen dropped back to d2 there, instead bishop g4 might have been annoying, as opposed to the variation you just showed there, Artis, where the white knight was still on g1 and wouldn't have been hit. And maybe this is something that here Pentala Harikrishna wanted to avoid. Instead, the queen was the one that was targeted. An interesting dance here between the black dark square bishop and the white queen. And it jumped out to h6 the bishop in a moment, and only then, after kicking the white queen to a different square this time. Again, don't try it at home. Queens should move 3 times in the first 7 moves like this. But yeah, it seems to have normalized somewhat the position. And Jovanka, I don't know where open Sicilians or close Sicilians or anti-Sicilians, I don't know where they all begin, but this Sicilian at least has led to a position that both sides have reasons to be happy about.
Yeah, it was an interesting dance that the queen did there, you know. I wasn't expecting it to be actually booted away from e3. I thought she looked quite awkward there. But yeah, this one seems to be quite a bit more standard. But the big question here for White is where to put the bishop. Do you just drop the bishop back along the same diagonal? Do you go bishop to h4? But I don't know what it's doing on h4, so I'm definitely kind of pounding the table for putting the bishop on e3. And then one of the things that I whenever I played the open Sicilian was I was just constantly just playing for the center, just trying to occupy the center with the pieces, you know, trying to get a knight on d5 at the right time and try to grab as much space as possible, making use of the half-open line. But these positions, again, can get super sharp because as black, you know, you have to answer the first question, how are you going to complete your development? And then secondly, what would be your counterplay in terms of measuring up to White's extra space there? So intriguing battle. It's a very subtle position here, Arta.
Yeah, Jovi, indeed. And I think the reason why they're playing it because it's a relatively unexplored position, fresh position.
Back with the king.
Yeah, and I also tried to picture there might be a moment when Fabi might play rook f5, play king d6, king e7, king f8, and at the moment when the black king is on e7, white plays g6, and that's why it's very important to have the king as close to the e pawn as possible. So that's why I think here Harikrishna cannot afford to play something irresponsible like king e1. Of course, it just makes no sense. And if now black plays king d6, king e7, g6 is just going to be a trade and a pretty trivial draw on Endgame.
And he does drop his king back, Fabiano, but there's no threat. White king likely to march forward now. 2 step forward, 1 square.
So I think this game is going to continue for a while, and white is probably not going to play g6 anytime soon, so I think rook f1 is about to follow here, followed by e5 and king d6, but then what? You still need some cooperation.
Yeah, and as mentioned by Say What there in the featured chat, 7 hours of top level chess must be exhausting. It is. That's why the players have a rest day tomorrow, so they can afford to lay all of their energy out on the table today. Harikrishna will certainly need a rest day no matter what after this defensive effort. But, yeah, that's part of the game, part and parcel of classical chess. That's why certain players prefer blitz, rapid. Classical chess, totally different beast. And Fabiano brings his rook back. Hey, he's not even trying to make progress now. Rook to h7, a very classy touch from Harikrishna. If black had pushed the e1 forward, that would have been a check. They're repeating. Fabiano says something to Harikrishna. It's a handshake. It is a draw. It is peace eventually between Pentala Harikrishna and Fabiano Caruana after around 6 hours of play. What a marathon, but ultimately a missed opportunity for Fabiano. Frustration on his face, Ivanka.
Yeah, he's looking disappointed because even though you might